She's ignoring me. Shun.
We have to make sure we're practicing perfectly now, so that on the test, on the quiz on Thursday, I should say. Hey guys, because I'm so purposeful, because I need to make you guys ready for Thursday. If I see you talking that has nothing to do with math, and your hand is not raised asking me a question, waiting for me to call you before you speak, I'm just going to send you straight out of the room. Gan's going to be out there, and if you goof around, if you do anything silly, he's going to go ahead and just write your name down.
Okay.
So that I know. And Mr. Kent's gone, so you'll go straight to the principal.
Oh, wait, who's the principal?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Mr. Hollis. Sit down, let's go. Sorry, that was the one. Put it on, you're fine. Jazzy, how's it going? How's the warm-up going?
The homework
So here
wasn't
we go.
that hard.
I said warm-up.
No, I know.
We're just holding things in today. So things that you normally say outside, like Josh and Alan usually make noises, I'm asking them to not do that today. And little things like talking about jackets, Johnny's been doing. All right, here we go. So for the warm-up, for the very first one, raise a hand. Who has how we should start? Rob, what would you do?
Multiply.
You could multiply.
Well, you could distribute.
Okay. We have two options. We can distribute or we can divide. But since Rob got distribute, that's what we're going to do.
Amen.
2x squared.
2x equals 0.
2x squared and 2 times 5 is 10 equals, what's on the other side? 10.
And subtract 2.
Subtract 10 from each side.
And then 2x to the second equals 0.
Okay, so you guys at least were learning last night that if there is just an x squared in a number, we want to get the x squared alone, right?
I'll put the 2 under it.
So 2x squared equals?
0.
0.
And don't you
Divide both sides by 2.
do
I'm going to go ahead and come up here. Caleb, bring our one up. Just go to grab up the notes real quick.
that's 5.
We have x squared equals. What's 0 divided by 2? You can always check it in your calculator.
0.
0. Wait a minute. What did you do last night when you faced 0? What's 0?
One solution.
Square root of 0 is?
0.
In our notes, square root of 0 is 0.
Just make it 3.
Why aren't there 2 answers?
There's not a negative 0.
Because negative 0 is 0. Positive 0 is 0. We only have one answer, and the answer is 0. Did you get this answer down? Okay, Dylan.
So how come it's not just x squared would be 0? Because
Well, we're trying to solve for x.
oh, okay.
So in order to solve for x, to undo, okay, there was plus 10. To undo that, we minus, right? Because it cancels out.
Yeah.
Okay. X squared, to undo a squared, we square root. And that allows the squared to cancel. So we just get x. Square root of 0 is 0. We're done.
Okay. All right.
Cool. Jen.
The x, can you plug it in check?
You can always plug into check.
Like 3 can see it.
Ian and Diego, we need to be quiet now. Plugging in 0. 0 squared is 0 plus 5 is 5. 5 times 2 is 10.
On the note, it says like add to 0, we're going to make one that has one real solution.
Count them. How many solutions? Got it. That's what the notes mean. And the one real solution is at. Keep reading. One real solution is. Got it.
Oh,
One answer, and the answer is 0.
like on the quiz, is it going to ask for like,
How many solutions?
Yeah.
No, it's just going to be how many you write down. Is how many I assume that you know. Now, and number 2, some of you guys should have kept going. Ian, I'm going to come back and answer that in a second. How could we solve for x in number 2?
Actually, so
All right, you guys go. I'm going to follow really quickly, but show your work first if you have not yet already.
We did this last time.
Nope. Keep going. How many answers should you have in number 2?
2. Negative 3 and positive 3.
12.
Just raise it. I didn't know that. Oh, I just did mental math.
You have to divide the 3 from 27.
Exactly, that's not.
No, but then the answer oh, yeah.
I'll try to get it. This is the only thing they have this section of rest that. I don't know why I get the first section. Fuzzy, I don't know how to do that. There's only 2 problems I understand. Because I went after school every day trying to do the first section. Now I'm trying.
Yes, I haven't done that one. All right, Griffin, what you doing number 2?
Oh, what you get?
I'm so
Go fast. Amali, what you doing number 2?
Then it's actually
So, hopefully you guys added 27 to the other side first, right?
I did.
I knew it.
I was right.
The 3x squared is equal to 27.
Divide by 3.
Divide by 3, tie this up and out.
Yeah.
Amali helped out.
I was stupid again.
Is X squared?
Extra comments not necessary. Back up to the front. Kiddos, I need to. Dylan, help me out real quick, okay? So, no, you're good. It's not a problem. I was meaning like I was gonna ask you a question. How do I solve for x now?
I didn't know that.
How do you get rid of the squared? What did we do in the problem?
I just saw what Josh said.
On both sides.
So we need to cross out, not cross out. To cross out the squared, I need to put in a square root. However, how many square roots of 9 are there? 2! Yeah, your notes yesterday.
I got
Negative 1, negative 3.
Read a positive and a negative.
I got the
The square can cancel out, but I need 3.
X equals plus negative.
So if I do it that way, it's right.
Now let me show the answer. Either of these are perfect.
What?
Either one. There's a big old or in there. Either one is perfect. Trust me.
No, yeah, I know, but like
Either one is perfect.
I showed you that.
You're solving
I like that face. Everybody here now. I like this one.
No, that was actually
We did get very mad back.
Where's the Shamusha?
Kiddos,
Yeah, we did get very mad up here.
listen up. We have a lesson today. I have tried my hardest to help. Some people have questions, and that's great. So here's what we're going to do. No more questions until the very end of class when people are working on homework. If you have a question on a problem, you're going to put a question mark by it, and then when I say if anyone has questions, you may raise your hand at the very end of class, and I'll come to you. So, love you all. Wish I could help you all, but this is not a tutoring session. It's a class session. So all hands down. If you have a question on a problem, put a question mark. I'm going to go ahead and
I'll just add it.
wait for you guys to answer anything until I ask the question, which I have not yet. So, Josh, look at me. Anyone at this, if throughout all of today's class, if you have a question as to why something is what it is, I want you to put a question mark on it, and at the end of class when I ask any questions, then you can come back. So right now we're accepting Ian and Diego, this applies to you. We are not talking, we are not asking, we are writing. We are working alongside with me. If you don't know why something is what it is, put a question mark, and then you can ask it at the end of class. All hands down. Number 3, if I ask a question, that's the only time you can raise your hand. Alan and Caleb, focus up. For number 3, if we were to follow our steps from up above, we would subtract the 3 from both sides.
Number 4.
Some of you guys are giving me good input. I'm going to go ahead and write what I know is correct, and you guys are going to just follow along. Remember, Alan and the rest of you guys, don't distract me. So, I am going to go ahead and do 2 minus 3 is negative 1. Pause, absolutely no talking, absolutely no asking. You can ask this later. Put a question mark if you don't understand. If I divide both sides by 4, we end up with y squared equals negative 1/4. Let me give you a second in case you didn't or you haven't written this down yet. You guys should be solving with me step by step. Step by step. Okay. Dylan, back to you.
Yeah.
We have a square. How do we get rid of it?
Put the little.
Yeah, what's it called? Help out, what's it
Square
called? Square root.
Yeah, put the square root.
Put the square root on one side and the other side. Okay, y equals, I want a hand. What is my answer if I'm taking the square root of negative 1/4 there? No solution.
Cause it's a negative.
Pause. From yesterday's class, we talked about 3 different cases that can occur. If you end up with, ready? If you end up with a squared equal to 0, 0 is your answer. If you end up with a squared equaling a positive number, the square root of that positive number, plus and minus, a positive and a negative are both answers. So equal to 0, zeros are one answer. Equal to a positive number, the positive and negative are the two answers. And then if we have a squared equal to a negative, no answer is the solution. That's the table that we wrote down yesterday. Barry, head off and focus up here. This is what we wrote down in our table yesterday. If there's anything that you would like clarification on, put a big old question mark by the problem in the warm-up. You can ask me at the end of class. Here we go. We are still in section 9.3. You guys just keep going from the warm-up. There should be no problems as far as where you are. Just keep going. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in. If you have a question, put a big old question mark exactly where you have a question. You can ask me at the end of class. Solving with square roots. Solving with square roots. Now, we've already been solving with square roots, so what on earth is new today? What is new is that we're going to have things of the form, expressions or equations of the form, x minus, let's just say a, squared equals 2.
Oh no, I was just asking because I like.
Okay. X minus a quantity squared equals, and we'll put something like a d, because I think we did that yesterday, right? Wasn't d the number on the other side? Yeah. Okay. What's different today is we can still solve with square roots if we have a binomial squared and not just an x squared. We can still solve with square roots if we have a binomial squared and not just an x squared. However, just like yesterday, there are 3 different cases for us to watch out for. Just like yesterday, there are 3 different cases for us to watch out for. So I'm going to go ahead and try to show them to you here. That's a good. Because this gets a little tricky, even though some of you understood what we were doing yesterday. This gets a little tricky. But if you notice, even though the left side is different, the right side is the same as what we were talking about in our warm-up. Except instead of having a squared, an x squared equaling a positive number, or a 0, or a negative number, all that's different is we have a binomial squared equaling a positive number, or a 0, or a negative number. Not much changes, but it could be enough to throw some of you guys for a loop.
True that.
Not much changes, but it could be enough to throw some of you guys for a loop. Okay. Just from, put a question mark where you have a question. Just from our warm-up and yesterday's notes. Look at the warm-up. It's like the second warm-up problem that we had. The second warm-up problem, we had an x squared and it ended up equaling positive 9. My question to you is, look at warm-up number 2. How many answers did we get? 2. So then we're going to have x is going to equal 2 solutions. N apostrophe S. That's kind of messy, but you could do that. But hold on, pause. Angel, 2 solutions is not the answer. That's just how many answers you should have, okay? Now, guys, before we go on to the next one, I'm going to do a warm-up right away. So, complete focus. This gets tricky. Try to make sure you're paying attention. This gets tricky. If I was to give you the example of okay, so if I was to give the following example, eyes up here. And if I was to give you, let's see, let me put it in gray. X minus 3, quantity squared, plus, I don't even make it hard, I'll just say equals. Let's say 9, let's say 16. Okay, here's our example. X minus 3, go ahead and stand up. X minus 3 squared equals 16. Now, just looking at that, I say it's a positive 16, therefore how many answers do we have? I'm going to have 2 answers, just based on what's right there. I have a positive number, 16 is positive, I have 2 answers. Now, how do I get it? Dylan, this is going to look a little bit harder, and the rest of you guys, it looks a little bit harder. Justin, I'm so glad that you have an idea, but just hang in there. I have a squared equal to 16. I have a squared equal to 16. Question. How did we undo squareds? Dylan, help out. How did we undo squareds when it was just x? No, what's that called?
Oh,
Square root. If we have a squared, we need a square root. If we have a squared, we need a square root. So what we're going to do is, even though it looks messy with x minus 3, we put our square root. And when we put our square root on this side, remember, we're going to do plus or minus. So then, like the page before, a square root and a squared, what can I cancel? Both of them. They undo each other. This is a snazzy word for it. It's inverse operation. That's like pre-calc stuff. But the square root takes away the squared, and let me show you what's left. I'm just going to do little arrows to show you what's left. The x minus 3 is left. The squared is gone. And at not 16, what's around the 16? Wait a minute, hold on. Square root of 16 is 4. Let's not write square root of 16.
oh yeah.
Let's do 4. Okay, hold on. In algebra, we know to add the 3, but who do we add it to? There's a positive 4 and there's a negative 4.
Oh.
We do both, but we have to, in order to do both, we have to say, okay, hold on, there are 2 equations that we need to go ahead and go for. One equation is going to be x minus 3 equals a positive 4. Another equation, exactly, is going to be x minus 3 equals negative 4. You guys kind of did this when you did absolute value abstract last semester.
And then all you do is
So we have to say, hey, positive 4 is one way, negative 4 is another. So in a way, we're saying, okay, this is the beginning of our answer, but we have to go ahead and say we need to split this up into 2 separate equations. Now we can say, it's time to solve. So let's add the 3 to both sides. X equals 7 is 1, but we have to do the other one also. What's negative 4 plus 3? X equals negative 1. Now question, how many answers were we supposed to have back here when we saw a positive number? 2. How many answers do we have down here? 2. Now, can we write them as x equals? Yes, or we could say x equals, just to make it look nice, negative 1, comma 7. There are 2 different options for x. Both of them need to be.
That's it.
Uh-huh. We just have to make sure that we know what to do when we see a problem. So first case,
So what's the difference?
well, see this extra step? The other one, we would take a square root and we were done. This one, we take a square root and we still have another step to go. We still have to add the 3 to both sides. Now, Diego, I said no problem. The second example. This one says if x minus a squared is equal to 0. So what if I was to do something like, I don't know, let's do x plus 1 squared minus 2 equals 2. Okay? Now if you look at it really fast, you're like, it doesn't work. There's not a 0 there, but
You just add 2.
sometimes there might be an extra piece. Sometimes it's a good idea. We're gonna add 2 to both sides, and what do we end up getting once we add? Oh, I totally forgot. Pause, I made a bad example. That's not 0, is it? Hey, help me out. What do I need to change if I want this to equal 0 when we add 2? Signs. So let's make the negative into a positive. Make sure you change your example. Thanks for helping me make the example better. Now we're going to go ahead and do minus 2 from both sides. J was a bad example. So now I changed it to plus 2 instead. That was me changing the example. You guys helping me. So now we have x minus 1 quantity squared equals what? 0. So this fits under this case. Not squared. What's it called?
Divide.
Nope. What's it called? I have a squared.
Square.
I need a square root.
Where?
You have the scoop. The scoop.
Thanks, Jen.
Oh.
I need a square root.
It's wrong. Say squared.
Yeah, squared is the little exponent of 2. Squared is the little exponent of 2. Square root is what I need to do to get rid of the squared. So I'm going to square root both sides. We could say plus or minus, just to be safe. But guys, plus or minus 0, we're still going to write the x plus 1. It remains. The squared and square root are gone. They've undone each other. Equals, what's the square root of 0?
0.
Plus or minus? No, just 0. How many answers?
1.
Okay, so we need to go ahead and write that in. We haven't helped ourselves out yet.
Yeah.
So we can go ahead and say that x is going to equal 1 solution for the second case, right? So now that we have x plus 1 equals 0, we're looking for only one answer, only one solution. How do we solve for it? Minus 1. So x equals negative 1. We're looking for one answer, and we have one answer. Dun, 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 dun. Okay? So if we have, once again, a positive number, we're looking for the plus or minus, we're going to have to look for 2 solutions. If we get a 0, plus or minus still just gives us, plus or minus the square root of 0 is still just 0. We're still just going to have one solution, one answer. You guys are doing somewhat great, but some of you are starting to lose it. Hold on, hang in there. The last one. Help me out, kiddos. When we had equal to a negative number, this is warm-up number 3. We talked about it. Square root of a negative number, does it work or no?
No.
So our answer is
No solution.
no solution.
NS. Do we just put NS if we're feeling cool?
Just no solution. Just because I might not know, even though you just said it, I might not remember. I don't
What
want to
about
mark something wrong.
Dot?
So no solution, but kiddos, how does this example work with that? What if I was to say x plus 5 squared plus 3 equals 0? How does this work? Subtract 3, good. Start solving. We get x plus 5 quantity squared equals negative 3. Oh, plus or minus square root both sides. Square root. Okay, go, you focus. Square root. Isn't the square root and the square going to cancel? Oh, 3 doesn't have a square root. Oh, wait, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's a negative. Josh, you focused?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
So the square root.
What's the square root of a negative?
Square root of a negative.
No solution. I say, oh wait, hold on. As soon as I see that negative, I say, whatever. X equals no solution. I can stop.
But no NS.
If you put it like into
If you try to put it in a graphing calculator, if you try to put it into a calculator, it's going to say error. It's going to say it doesn't work. Caleb, stay up here. Square root of a negative, no solution. Okay. Go fast. Okay, now kiddos, these are the notes from today. I'm going to pause for just a second since some of you have your highlighters out. So this is what's new. Having a binomial squared and trying to figure out what the answers look like, and not just what they look like, but how to find them depending on the case. Either a binomial squared equals a positive, looking for 2 answers, or it's going to equal 0, but we might need to simplify a little bit first to figure that out, 1 answer. or it's going to equal a negative and then no answer. Or it's going to equal a negative and no answer. Now, with that, let me show you one more weird thing that can happen. You might see some directions that say, solve the equation using square roots, round to the nearest 100. Pause. Pause. I want you guys to go ahead, just try letter A.
V is no solution.
This isn't even crazy.
Wow, you're cool.
Pause. Wait. Don't go saying 1 or 2 or none if you haven't gotten this squared by itself. So guys, this is near the end of homework. However, this is near the end of homework, but this isn't even a binomial. Isn't this just a plain old x that's squared? Okay, so hold on. Solve that letter A. Solve that letter A. You guys know what to do. Solve for x squared. Solve for x squared.
Yeah.
Square.
It's 11.
Then why does it say round to the nearest?
You see, the way my reading skills
Is that you can't read?
Alright, so what'd you guys do?
Rounded.
Minus, oh wait, no rounding yet. We still have to solve.
Rounding.
So I hear -8, both sides.
Yeah.
Okay, make it quiet again.
It's
19 minus 8 is?
X squared equals 11.
20.
19 minus 8,
I mean,
Josh
sorry.
had it right. It's okay. Happens. Jay, no talking. Jazzy, no talking. Josh, come on back. Tyler, it's okay. Okay, I'm just saying, come on back. We will get distracted.
But you failed that.
11. Dylan, help me out. If I have x squared equals 11, how do I undo the squared?
Divided.
What's the
What is it?
divided by like with the square root.
Yeah. Don't say divide. It's not division. Division like we divide by
It's
a
square
number.
root.
We're square rooting. Wait, it's a positive number, plus or minus. Hold on. Square root of 11. What on earth is square root of 11?
There is none.
Okay, so wait.
Oh yeah.
Remember how I said in the quiz on Thursday you guys can use one of these? Pause. Listen, Caleb. Focus. I don't have enough of these for everybody. Barry, last time, put off. Thank you. Well, it's actually on the supply list. You're supposed to have one of these since the beginning of the year. I should technically not let anyone use any of them, but I let a few if they forget. Bring your scientific calculator because Ava can look on hers right now, and so can anyone else who has their calculator out. How do I do a square root in this calculator? There's a button, and if I put in 11, I will get a decimal. And that decimal is going to help me answer the problem. It's 3.31 to 10/100. There's technically 316. I'm just trying to show you guys how to round to the nearest 100. This is review from elementary math. It'd be 3.32.
Okay.
It is 2 answers, but we don't know the square root of 11. It's a nasty decimal. No big deal. If you have your scientific calculator, it's not a problem. Now, I told you to bring your scientific calculator. Shouldn't this be an easy problem? Just put it in your calculator, square root of 11?
Do you have to put in your calculator?
How else can you figure out 3.32? How do I do letter B? Add 2. Add 2. Wait, pause, but good. Justin's already saying we need to divide by 5 next, which we do. However, some of you, if you're using your calculators, 2/5 is scary. How do you do a fraction in your calculator? You need to use the division symbol. So I'm going to go ahead and in here do 2 divided by 5 to get my 0.4. And now that I did 2 divided by 5 in my calculator, I can do square root both sides. It's not division. Square root both sides.
Could you do that fancy?
And then can I use, if we have more time, I can use the square root button with 0.4 and get my answer of x equals plus or minus 0.632. Guys, how would you round this number to only 2 decimal places?
600.
0.63. Remember that 2 is not big enough to make the 3 round up. Now guys, for sake of time, let's just skip letter C. Let's just skip letter C because it's very similar and a lot of you guys don't have your calculators. But those of you that did, I see a Molly with one and Ava with one. Hopefully you were able to find the square root button. It's usually the second, if it's this nice TI-30-ish, it's that little second, like a shift button on your keyboard. Second and then the squared button.
Good job, yes.
Okay, come back up, Tyler. Rob, face the front like a normal student, legs under your desk. Okay, coming back. To finish off today, these examples are not completely, but they're somewhat random in that I did not choose them on purpose. I just chose them as extra examples. Let's go ahead and just choose one to do. I'm going to highlight letter C.
Yes, I was gonna say.
Oh, I already did.
That's a good thing, though. That's a good thing.
Square root it right off the bat.
Why square root right off the bat? Because we have something squared.
Oh,
Hey, come on, bud.
oh, you.
Something squared. Dylan, come on, bud. Something squared. How do I undo it? Josh,
Square root it.
they're helping you out. Did you know that though? Square root both sides. Now when I square root, guys, look at the answer. You should already be able to know one answer, no answers, 2 answers.
Dos.
It's not just 6. You gotta get it ahead. It's plus or minus 6.
Plus
right?
minus.
The squared goes away. 2x plus 1
Or can we say
equals
positive or negative?
plus or
Plus
negative.
6.
Positive or negative 6. That's a great way of saying it, Josh. Positive or negative. Now, how many equations do I need?
2.
Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and split this up into 2 equations because I can't deal with 2 numbers at once. So 2x plus 1 equals 6. We can put in or 2x plus 1 equals negative 6. Right? My negative like disappeared. Let's get them in there. Now I just need to solve these 2 equations for my 2 answers and I'm done. So how do I solve with PEMDAS? Do I move the 2 first or the 1 first? Subtract the 1, and what I do over here, 2x equals 5. I'm going to also do on this equation are the same steps. Negative 7, negative 6, minus 1, negative 6, plus a negative 1, negative 7. Diego, I said no questions again. Not even for you. So then coming back to the problem, how do I get x by itself? Divide by 2, and what I do to 1, well, divide by 2. They're the same type of equation. X equals 5 halves, or, can you see them? Negative 7 over 2. Kiddos, you're ready for homework. Let me get the homework on the board, even though some of you have already written it down. Pause, listen. I'm going to pull the book up on the board so that you guys can keep going. I'm going to show, starting at number 19, because you're supposed to have done 18 last night.
That's kind of true.
Listen, some of you guys have question marks in your notes. I am available to answer those personal questions as far as where you got stuck in notes right now, as soon as I put up the book. Otherwise, I'll answer questions on the homework if you get stuck. So here we go.
Oh.
Book open.
I try to do this.
Can we just turn it in if we don't have it?
No, because you need to finish up to number 31.
I mean, I need to. I would.
To right now?
So it's still like 41 or 51 on
So kiddos, let me show you.
Oh, that's the. Oh, I get it.
The homework is 3 through 31. What should you have already done? 3 through 18. I had you erase the 18.
Because we're already supposed to do
Hold on. Guys, I don't need to yell over you. Just shush. Shush, Jackie. Jay. Stop. You have 3 through 18 right now if you did last night's homework. Erase the 18, put 31. That is homework 51 in its entirety that we're turning in tomorrow.
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and open up the assignment. I have it ready.
Take this out.
You guys, you should be able to start at 19 and just keep going on homework right now. If you didn't do the ones above that, hopefully you have a book or can borrow a book to start at the beginning in number 3 and work your way through.